بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما بعد, my brothers and sisters, this is the second part of my khutbah from last week. Become overcomers. Become overcomers. Now, this is the part 2 of that. We spoke last week about writing down our purpose in life, and I hope you did that. The idea, the purpose of these lectures is not simply to give you some information, but to show you, inshallah, a direction for you to follow so that you become highly successful in this life, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His pleasure and for His reward in the afterlife. So keeping that purpose statement, now you have a one-line purpose statement. Print it out, write it out big. Now keeping the purpose statement in front of you, ask yourself, what are the 3 things that I need to do in order of priority? 3 things in order of priority going forward. Now focus on the first thing in your list. When you finish it, go to the next one, not before. If you get interrupted, return and complete that first task. Then go to the next one, the same thing with the next one and the next one. Never skip a task on your priority list, no matter what the reason. Eliminate the reasons that take you away from your priorities. Focus is the art of ignoring fluff. Multitasking is another word for distraction. When you focus on one thing, you must consciously ignore everything else. That is why in Salah we have Takbir Tahrima. Allahu Akbar. I am focusing on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu exclusively. Nobody, nothing else. If somebody says Salam Alaikum to me when I am not in Salah, then it is fard on me to say Wa Alaikumus Salam, to return that person's greeting. But when I am standing in Salah, I say Allahu Akbar. Somebody says Salam Alaikum, I do not say Wa Alaikumus Salam. Because focus is on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Go to YouTube and look up videos of leopards and lions hunting, and you will see what concentration means. Leopards and lions learn the value of concentration early because without it they would starve. Humans discover the problem with not having concentration when at the end of their lives they look back and see all that they could have achieved if only. The saddest phrase in any language is if only. Believe me, you don't want to go there. It's in your hands right now. So learn to concentrate. That is the secret of success in everything in life. Winners concentrate on one task until it is completed. Losers are butterflies, flitting from flower to flower until they die, leaving nothing behind. The difference between winners and losers is concentration. If you have the concentration of a monkey, then life will only give you peanuts. Thanks to the internet and our gadgets, we forget that only the means to access information have multiplied and changed. The law of learning has not changed. Like the law of gravity, it's a fundamental law. It never changes. The law of learning is that learning is a factor of sincerity, concentration, and perseverance. 3 things: sincerity, concentration, and perseverance. No matter what the means you use to access information, it turns into knowledge only after deep reflection, thoughtful practice, and conceptualizing the lessons. Then, when it is applied over time, a long time usually, and the lessons are constantly learned, it flowers into wisdom. Unfortunately, we confuse information with knowledge and we don't even think about wisdom. That is why we make the same mistakes over and over and we suffer needlessly. So, forget gadgets and develop concentration. The world's number one YouTuber, Jimmy Donaldson, his YouTube title is Mr. Beast. He makes stunt videos. I tried to watch one, which was for 10 minutes. At the 5th minute, I couldn't take it anymore, I gave up. It consisted of shots of a train running through a brick wall, and then in another shot through 6 tractor trailers, then a shot of a junk car carried up, hooked to a helicopter and dumped from a height, some 500 feet or something, into a tank full of foam pellets, and then a remote control car trying to leap over 6 school buses. They didn't manage to do that. All the while, Mr. Beast is screaming into the mic and telling those who are perhaps blind what is happening. Because I can see what's happening. I don't need him to yell at me to tell me what's happening, but that's the video. I'm sure all of this will probably amuse a 2 or 3-year-old, but since I'm a long way away from there, I left. However, he has 112 million followers on YouTube who help him to make $30 million a year. Granted that he gives a lot of money to charities, but I'm speaking about not him but you, about the value for time for the viewers who watch these videos. Now he can do this because he's not like his followers. He's not watching those videos. He makes the videos, which needs intense concentration, focus on quality, ruthless discipline, and the ability to stay in the game to the end. He makes the videos for people whose attention span is equal to that of goldfish or monkeys. Without their willingness to donate their lives, their time to his videos, Mr. Beast would be a poor man. Thank God for slaves and slavish minds. Ditto TikTok, the shorts. Remember that you are on the wrong side of the screen. Please understand that. If you are looking at the screen, you are on the wrong side of the screen. On this side, you help others to succeed. If you want to succeed, I mean really succeed, not just talk about it, you need to get behind the screen and do something that is worth recording, something worthwhile. I'm not talking only about making videos. I'm saying do something worthwhile in life. And that does not mean watching videos, spending 6 to 7 hours a day screen time. This is the average. 6 to 7 hours a day screen time. After you watch Mr. Beast's video, ask yourself, what did you gain? Then watch a lecture by one of my favorites, Professor Roy Casagrande, president and founder of Austin School, a genius, a walking encyclopedia of human history, a brilliant speaker whose lectures average 90 minutes. At the end of his lecture, ask yourself what you gained. Then ask, how many followers does Roy Casagrande have? And how much money does he make? I can bet you it's not even a fraction of what Mr. Beast makes. That will define our world for you. The question to you is, do you want to be a participant in that kind of a world? Or do you want to change that world? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned concentration in salah. He said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Alladhina hum fi salatihim khashi'un. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the qualities of the believers, the qualities of the mu'mineen. And He said, they are those who have concentration in their salah, who have khushu in the salah. All solemnity and full submissiveness, khushu in the salah. Khushu is the result. Khushu is not the cause. Concentration is the cause. You cannot have khushu if your mind is wandering all over the place. Concentration is what gives us khushu. It's a factor of concentration, of ignoring all distractions, internal and external, and focusing exclusively on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu. My brothers and sisters, today we live in times where a lack of concentration has been made into a virtue. Teachers, mentors, even parents are told that children listen in 10-second sound bites. You need to ask, whose children? Human children or monkey children? The reality is that concentration, like muscles, builds over time and with practice. If you raised your children to listen in 10-second bites, that is what you're going to get. Stop for a moment and ask how those same children who you claim can't listen to anything beneficial and potentially life-changing for longer than 10 seconds are able to sit glued to their TV screen or their Xbox or whatever that is, watching FIFA or Super Bowl or 2020 IPL cricket or whatever is their favorite drug for hours at a time, any time of the day or night. How does that happen? So is it about the ability to concentrate or the willingness to concentrate? And that depends on where they see value. And that brings it back to how did you raise them? What do we see value in? For which we are willing to pay with the only non-renewable resource that we have, which is time, also known as life. Because when our time runs out, we die. Ask yourself what you are really seeing here when you see your kids glued to their Xbox or the TV screen or their smartphone. You are watching the creation of slaves who will believe anything. They are manipulable by those who can concentrate to fulfill their own goals at the expense of the slaves. Slavishness is the mentality. Ask if you want that for yourselves and your children. The chains are in the brain. If not, do something about it. Remember, the chains are in the mind. The cure is to decide what is good for you and to learn to do it, remembering that everything new without exception is painful at first. Develop a gain mindset. Ask yourself after every transaction, everything that you spend time on, what did I gain from this? What did I learn? It will change your life totally. Forget sacrifice. The only sacrifice is what the tandoori chicken did for you. Think investment. Everything we do is a potential investment in our own lives. Then you will naturally think of ROI, return on investment. Sacrifice has no return. Investment has a return. If that return is negative, move away from that and invest elsewhere. The second most important thing to do is to develop a problem-solving mindset. Decide if you want to be a master or victim. When faced with any challenge, see what is in your control and do it. Don't get stuck with what you can't control. People sometimes look at misery that surrounds us and they ask, why doesn't God do something about all these sick and dying and starving people? The answer is God did something already. He created you and He gave you the means to feed at least one hungry person, to pay for the education of one child, to pay the hospital bill of one sick person and so on. If you can't feed 100 people, feed one. If you can't build a school, pay the fee for one child to go to school. If you can't build, it's a common cop-out strategy to blame the external world. In this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the suffering that we see around us. We globalize the problem and then justify our inaction by saying, after all, I am only one person, what difference can I make? On the other hand, masters, people with a master mindset, they localize the global problem and they ask, what can I do to make a difference? Those who are serious about wanting to help don't blame others. They don't complain. But they ask themselves, what can I do? That is what Islam teaches us. To do something, not simply to complain, not simply to talk about it. Problems need solutions, not complaints. In the life of every man and woman comes a time when a window opens and we have a unique opportunity to make an impact and influence others. To succeed, we need to anticipate and prepare and act with courage when our window opens. If you are reading or listening to this It means that your window is open now. The question to you is, what do you want to do? On that will depend your success in this world and the next. My brothers and sisters, living life is about making choices. The choice to be a victim of circumstances or the choice to do something about circumstances and be their master. We are free to make this choice to be a victim or to be a master, but the choices, each of them has a different payoff in terms of consequences. Both stances are subject to the same givens of society, the environment, the organization, of people, laws, and so on, but have very different implications in terms of our development and happiness. It is one of the fallacies that people assume that freedom of choice means that the choice is free of consequences. This is a myth, and like all myths, it's a lie. It's a fantasy. We have freedom to choose, but every choice has a price tag. Foolish people make choices without first finding out the price, and then they are surprised and shocked and depressed and disappointed when the time comes to pay for the choice. Victims are people who complain about adversity and hardship and suffering or oppression. They think of excuses, they blame others, they lose hope, and they perish. Victims can be individuals, they can be groups, they can be communities, or they can be nations. The victim stance is the same: complain and blame. When victims find themselves in difficulties, they look around for scapegoats, for someone to blame. They invent conspiracy theories. They like to live with a siege mentality. They try to tell everyone that the only reason they are in this mess is because everyone in the world is out to get them. They don't stop to think that no matter who they blame, their problems still exist, and that it is they and not whoever they blame that is suffering. If this applies to you, wake up. Wake up now and do something about it. Masters, on the other hand, are people who, when faced with difficulty and adversity, they first look at themselves to see how and why they came to be in that situation. They own their responsibility and then they look for solutions to resolve that situation. They have the courage to try new ways, and so they win even if they fail. Masters recognize that whatever happens to us is at least in part, if not wholly, a result of the choices that we made, consciously or unconsciously. The result of what we choose to do or chose not to do. This is powerful because if we recognize that we created the situation, then it logically follows that we can also create its solution. The characteristic of masters is that even when they may temporarily be in a victim situation, when they might be hurting and they feel powerless, they quickly ask themselves the key question: okay, so what can I do about this situation? This question is the key to taking a masterful stance in life. This in itself is a tremendously empowering mindset, which frees a person from the shackles of self-limiting barriers to his or her development. A master never says, I cannot, I can't. He or she says, I don't know if I can. And that is the truth. That is the truth because you don't know if you can. But in this difference of mental mindset, there is a world of difference. The difference between the shepherd and his sheep, between winners and losers. So ask yourself, in terms of the challenges that I face today, what do I need to do if I want to be a master and not a victim? What is the investment that I need to make to succeed? Remember that free fall and flight feel the same in the beginning, but it is the end which spells the difference between life and death. Ignoring the law of gravity does not change the result. Similarly, in life, in our race to succeed, we may well be tempted to ignore the laws of gain. That gain is directly proportionate to contribution. We may be tempted to buy the line that what you can grab is yours to take, no matter the consequences to others. Just as one in free fall may thumb his nose at the one who is flying, even claiming that he is traveling faster than the flyer, the reality is that his speed is aided by gravity, which is rapidly pulling him to his own destruction. It is not speed, therefore, which matters, it is the direction of the flight and the way it ends. Compassion, concern for others, a service focus, measuring contribution in the same way that we measure profit, the willingness to do what it takes to deliver the best possible quality, not because someone is watching, but because we consider the quality of our output to be our signature and a reflection of our identity. All these are real pathways to wealth, to influence, and to earning the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. The critical difference is that prosperity that comes in these ways is sustainable and long lasting and spreads goodness all around. Prosperity that is sought without regard to those who share the world with us, the people, the animals, the environment, without regard to values and ethics and morals, with the sole criterion being the amount of money that can be made, is short lived, has a high cost, and spreads misery and suffering, including for the one who was chasing it. We live in an intensely connected world, my brothers and sisters. And the sooner we realize that and start taking care of the connections, the better off we are likely to be. We have seen graphically the result of the alternative, blind pursuit of profit. I want to end with the very wise words of my dear friend Professor Madhukar Shukla of XLRI Jamshedpur. He said, growth for the sake of growth is the philosophy of the cancer cell. Growth for the sake of growth is the philosophy of the cancer cell. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.